Page for two. It's funny how, for all the thousands of self-help books out there, not a single one addresses the specific nightmare of running into an old high school acquaintance at the local bookstore. For someone like Riley, who preferred being invisible to the universe, today's encounter felt like cosmic payback for some unremembered crime. Standing in the bookshop, Riley had been minding her own business, staring blankly at the shelves and trying to figure out what she could possibly spend her gift card on. Self-help books? Definitely out. Romance novels? Absolutely not. She was considering picking up a random novel she'd heard about online when she heard her name. Riley? Hey, Riley. Her heart sank. It was impossible. It couldn't be April Chase, Miss Popularity herself from high school. Riley resisted the urge to ignore her and disappear into the nearest aisle. But by the time she'd turned, there she was, April, as radiant and unbothered as ever, with a polished smile and flawless hair pulled into an artfully messy bun. Her arms were loaded with books, one of which had her own face on the cover. Riley felt the very life drain out of her. "Oh my God, Riley," April grinned, holding up her book. Living Authentically, a self-help guide to following your heart. Riley winced inwardly. "Hey, April. Congrats on the book." "Thanks. I never thought I'd actually write one, but here we are. Life's funny like that, right?" Riley gave a non-committal nod, hoping April might move on. But April only seemed to lean in more. She began telling Riley all about her journey to publishing, the writing process, and how much she wished her high school friends were around to support her. Riley tuned out as best she could, staring at a nearby display of books on personal finance. But before she could make her escape, April pressed a signed copy of her book into her hands. "Take it. It's on the house for friends and family," April said with a wink, disappearing into the crowd of people gathering for her book signing. Riley sighed, making a break for the door before anyone else recognized her. Back at her car, she glanced at the book in her lap, figuring she might at least try to sell it online. But as she turned the cover, she noticed a small note tucked inside. "Hey, Riley. I know we didn't talk much in high school, but I always thought you were really cool. Let's catch up sometime? My number's below. Love, April." Riley stared at the note, her heart pounding for reasons she couldn't quite explain. Had April really just hit on her? Or was she overthinking it? The note's little heart, the familiarity in April's tone. Was it friendly or something more? After hours of staring at the book, Riley grabbed her phone, typed April's number into her contacts, and agonized over what to say. She finally settled on a quick voicemail. "Hey, April, it's Riley. Thanks for the book. And the note. Guess I'll talk to you later." Riley nearly threw her phone across the room after hitting send, cringing at how awkward she'd sounded. But later that night, her phone chimed. A message from April appeared. "Hey, Riley. Great hearing from you. Coffee next week." Riley read and reread the message, unsure of what she was getting into, but maybe, just maybe, that was okay. She smiled, replying with a simple, "Sure, coffee sounds good." In that moment, Riley felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years. The possibility of connection. And maybe, just maybe, one book, albeit not one she'd ever have picked up herself, could lead to something she never saw coming. Over the next few days, Riley kept half wishing April would cancel, so she wouldn't have to face the nerves. But when she received April's confirmation text with a cheerful, "See you tomorrow," she realized she'd passed the point of no return. The cafe they'd chosen was a cozy spot Riley rarely visited but had heard good things about. She got there early and waited at a small table by the window, sipping her coffee as she watched the door, half dreading, half excited to see April walk in. When she did, Riley was hit with a déjà vu from high school. April always had this aura about her, this infectious, unguarded brightness that made people look twice. Riley. Hey. April called, her eyes lighting up as she spotted her. She hurried over with her own cup of tea and a warm smile. Thanks for meeting me. I hope this isn't weird. Riley managed a small laugh, feeling her own smile creep up despite her nerves. No, not at all. Just unexpected. They settled into a comfortable conversation, catching up on the basics. Where they'd gone after high school, jobs, travels, favorite Netflix shows. Riley listened to April talk about her book journey, admitting she hadn't read much of it yet but planned to. Honestly, don't worry about it. April laughed, brushing it off. I wrote it mostly as an outlet. You know, like something to work through all that awkward early 20s stuff. Seems like it worked, Riley replied, relaxing more as they continued. She felt her walls come down, bit by bit, as they laughed about the old school rumors, teachers they couldn't believe had retired, and random memories neither thought they still had. Eventually, the conversation turned a little more personal, with April asking, "So, are you dating anyone these days?" Riley felt her cheeks warm slightly and quickly looked down at her coffee cup. Not really. I mean, I'm open to it, I guess. Just haven't really met anyone. April nodded. I get it. Dating's tough these days. It feels like half of it's just swiping right and praying for the best. They both laughed, but Riley couldn't ignore the curiosity stirring inside her. How about you? She asked, finally working up the courage. April shrugged, her expression softening as she met Riley's gaze. I'm not seeing anyone, no. And well, honestly, I kind of hoped that seeing you today might change that. I always thought you were the coolest person in school, you know? Mysterious, smart, kind of too good for all that petty stuff. Riley was floored. She sat there, processing, feeling her nerves and excitement collide in a way she couldn't remember experiencing. I had no idea. I just figured you were on another level. April smiled, reaching across the table and gently placing her hand over Riley's. I'm here now, and I'd like to get to know you better, if you're up for it. It was the start of something unexpected yet thrilling. They continued their conversation late into the evening, and before she knew it, Riley found herself leaving the cafe with a spring in her step. She glanced at April as they parted ways, and that small wave goodbye was loaded with the promise of something new. As she headed home, Riley held on to the warm hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of a new chapter. One she'd never expected to find in the pages of an old acquaintance's self-help book.